Hey everybody, so in this really short video, I'm just going to talk about reduction and multiplication in fast piano progress. And this is really about if you're practicing something and it's not going well, you likely just need to practice something that is smaller than whatever that section is and do a lot of whatever that is. And I really think that this will help you in your progress, no matter what level of pianist you are. And on this channel, I hope to share with you strategies, methods, insights, etc., often of my own creation that I hope will help you in your piano playing, hopefully other areas of your life as well. So I'm not going to go into specifics of my methodology. I'm just going to keep it really nice and simple. A lot of the time, the reason that people are not progressing well is they're practicing sections that are too large. But through spaced repetition, meaning you practice something and then you come back to it later, and that leads to deeper learning. Like you practice something, move on, come back, relearn it, move on, come back, you've forgotten it, relearn it again. Each time you do this is helping to form long-term connections in the brain, deeper learning, and so on. And also this idea of expansion. You can search David Chang rule of expansion if you're curious. And this means, for instance, let's say you practice one measure segments of some kind, and then you move on, you come back, you've forgotten them, and then you combine them into two measure segments. And then you move on, come back, you've forgotten them, and then you come back and you've combined them into four measure segments. There's more to it than this. You can search, again, my name and rule of expansion if you want to know some more details. But basically, through these concepts, the problem a lot of the time is people are just starting with something that's too difficult. So whether it's a beginner student or a more advanced student, let's say that they're trying to do four measure segments or four measure sections. If that's taking you a long time to play correctly to quality, meaning the notes are correct, it's nice and solid, all the fingering is correct, there's no stopping or hesitating, preferably it's memorized, because a lot of the time we want to memorize in the end. If that's taking you like 45 minutes to play these four measures right, you are doing too large. I think that a general rule of thumb of a 5 to 7 minute upper limit for these early, what I call solves, meaning just playing the given section that you're playing to quality, like nice and solid, everything's correct, notes, rhythm, and the fingering and so on. How about starting with one measure segments? Just play one measure. Does that take 5 to 7 minutes or less? Do that really, really well. Do the next one really, really well. Do the next one really, really well. And then, so that's reduction. You're starting much smaller. You're reducing it to its component elements. And then how about multiplying that? Do that 100-fold. If that's all that you can do, solve 100 measures that way or 50 measures that way. And then come back the next day, you'll have forgotten everything, which is fine. And then using rule of expansion, which you can search for as well, you can begin to combine them into two measure segments and so on. If you're struggling, you can, of course, review the ones again, and you can review the ones every day for a week, and then you can try to link them into twos, and the brain will have done its magic. It will have made it so that you remember those pieces enough that you can start to begin to combine them into twos, and then maybe you forget and relearn them for a whole week again, and then you combine them into fours, right? And you should break one smaller. This is key. This is part of the reason why my students are able to progress so quickly. So whether it's an advanced piece or a very simple piece, if you're practicing one measure, let's say it's both hands, and it's taking you 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that is too difficult for you right now. How about practice halves of a measure, or even quarters of a measure, or it could be thirds of a measure, depending on how the piece is broken up. Practice just thirds of a measure. Do each one super, super solid, super to quality. Everything is correct. If it's correct, even just once or twice, move on to the next one. Do 100 sections that are each only a third of a measure long. And then after you forget and remember them, relearn them for a week, then you can start to combine them into 2/3 sections and or ones, or you combine quarters into halves. And then the next time through, then you start to combine them into ones and so on. If the both hands is too difficult, start with separate hands. How about doing just thirds of a measure right hand alone through like 100 measures? Thirds of a measure left hand alone, right? Reduce it down to its smallest component elements, and then do that through 100 measures. You can also search my name and rule of transition to learn how to go from separate hands into both hands sections. And again, if it doesn't seem solid enough, I mean, you can just forget and relearn the same size section, but if you use the rule of expansion well, you will be able to start to link the smaller sections into larger ones earlier, the separate into both hands earlier, the halves of a measure into full measures earlier, and so on. So yeah, figure out what you can do. What can I do now that is easy, that takes no longer than 5 to 7 minutes? Okay, I've determined what it is and it is good. Now let me multiply that times 50. Let me multiply it times 100. Let me multiply it all the way until the end of the piece, if that's the only thing that I can do. And then I'll keep, forgetting and then relearning it. And then when I feel ready, I will transition to both hands. I will transition into larger and larger sections. Hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have questions, and please like, subscribe, let people know about the channel if you found it helpful, and looking forward to the next one. Thanks.